Biden's not my candidate.
Well, it certainly sounds like it. And
I predicted Trump. You didn't in 2016.
Okay, brother.
I predicted Reagan in 1984.
Okay, you're the best. You're the best. Okay, so listen, brother.
Thank you.
But I'm trying to see if you have an open mind and if you're being honest with yourself, let alone the audience, because I think you're leading him in a very wrong direction right now. So when you say, hey, the last couple of polls came out and they're not so bad, you understand that it's the aggregate of the polls, because I could show you a poll where Biden is losing by 12 in Nevada. So cherry picking polls is wrong. You know that, right?
You're wrong there, of course. Polls are snapshots and they change overnight. So you can't rely on polls taken a week or 2 weeks.
So the very last poll is the only one that should count, you think?
The most relevant polls, if polls are relevant at all, because they change so rapidly, are the most recent polls, and they're not close. Trump underwater 25 points. Biden
You think it's not close, Allan Lichtman? You sound like you're on a different planet. You think it's not close that Biden's going to blow out Trump?
Nationally.
You know he might resign tomorrow. Are you aware of anything that's going on? The NATO presser is going to be a disaster. He already called Zelensky Putin. He's already got 8 defections at the beginning of the show, and one came in during the middle saying he should resign the presidency. And you think that the aggregate of polls don't count? That's amazing.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to react to probably one of the most hilarious meltdowns that I've ever seen on the internet. And I've seen quite a lot of them, right? And what's so hilarious about this meltdown is that the 2 individuals involved in this meltdown, Cenk Uygur of TYT and Allan Lichtman, the woke historian, whose 13 keys are supposed to be the #1 predictor of who's going to win a presidential election. Both of these individuals are upset with each other over being wrong about the election. Yes, because both of these individuals were wrong, okay? Cenk was wrong because he predicted that Kamala would win. Allan Lichtman was wrong because he predicted that Kamala would win. Now, here's where the issue comes in. Allan Lichtman refuses to take responsibility for being wrong. He basically says that his keys are not flawed and that his analysis is objective. His analysis is not flawed. No. It's the American people's fault, right? It is disinformation, it's racism, bigotry, misogyny. That's why he got it wrong, okay? Because he has to hold on to this idea that his keys are foolproof, because otherwise he can't sell books. Okay, he can't sell books, and nobody would give a damn about what he says, right? Clearly, the guy is extremely narcissistic, and he's very full of himself when it comes to his predictions, right? He legitimately thinks he's the god of election predictions, right? So he has been humiliated because he got this prediction wrong, very, very, very wrong. And Cenk tried to warn the guy that his keys are flawed and that he's not being objective in his analysis right before Joe Biden dropped out of the race, in which Allan Lichtman claims that, hey, he thinks that Joe Biden's going to win, right? He really believed post-debate Joe Biden was going to win the election. And Cenk said, nah, I don't know about that, right? I don't know about that. Now, this is one of the few times I've ever sided with Cenk, okay, in an argument, because Cenk is essentially going to go off on this professor for not taking responsibility for being wrong, not admitting that his keys are flawed, and that his analysis is very subjective, right? That he is biased, and that's probably one of the main reasons he got it wrong. And this is hilarious. So without further ado, let's get into it.
So this idea of like disinformation, I think some of it was disinformation, but it's, I think the idea that this election was only won through right-wing disinformation, I'm afraid, I view that as a total delusion by the Democrats. Again.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm sorry, but I totally disagree with Juan and Professor Lichtman. Don't blame the voters. I think, look, we could get into this discussion, but Juan, I think you're blaming the voters. I think that's a terrible idea. And look, I debated Professor Lichtman before. I told him his theories about the keys were absurd. I was right. He was wrong. I said he'd lose his keys.
No, you were
Couldn't
not
find
right,
him before
and I
the
was
election.
not wrong. And that's a cheap shot, and I won't stand for it.
Well, who won, brother?
You should not be taking cheap shots at me.
Who won?
You want to make your
you
point,
live
make your
in
point.
a total
Don't make
world
it
of
personal.
denial.
I read your own followers' comments, and they all trashed you, every one of them, and supported me.
Yeah,
so quiet with your personal attacks.
Come find out again.
Make whatever point you want.
Yeah.
Don't
Look,
make it personal.
You don't know anything. You don't know
You
anything.
attacked me
You
personally.
You're so deluded.
Oh, right. I've only been a professor for 51 years.
On this program,
published
I've never been
13
able
books.
to finish a
How
thought.
many books have you published? No, because you're personally attacking me again. Say whatever you want, but I'm not going to stand for
brother,
personal
you got it
attacks.
wrong.
Say
you were
whatever you want.
preposterously and stupidly wrong. So, okay, all right. Can I just
Don't
finish
call
a
me
goddamn thought
stupid.
ever on this show?
No, not if you're
Okay,
personally
well,
I
you proved
admitted
it.
I was wrong. I don't need you to call me stupid.
Okay.
Can I just say, it's
What kind
great
of
to see
nonsense
you
is that?
Democrats
Yeah, I
all
know.
getting
Who
along
taught
so
you
well.
manners?
It's lovely to see a
one.
post-election
Can I finish a
harmony as you all
goddamn
come
point?
together
We're
again.
just one
Alan,
right now.
shh. Hey, Alan, you deserve a tall glass of shut-up juice, so can you just shut up for a second and let someone who knows what
Not
they're doing
if you're
so
gonna
right,
personally
Piers.
attack
You're
me.
so right.
So-
We're so
Make any
unified right now.
point you
It's
want.
So-
I will not sit here and stand
So-
for personal attacks, for blasphemy against me. You don't need to do that. You don't.
This dude said blasphemy, bruh. He said blasphemy. This man has a God complex. Straight up, this dude thinks he's a God. That's what he thinks. Look, here's the thing, man. Again, this is probably one of the first time I've ever agreed with Cenk. Okay, even though I do disagree with Cenk a lot in regards to the things he's saying. He claims that he knows what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about either, right? Both of these people are delusional, okay? But this dude, Allan Lichtman, is more delusional than Cenk, which I thought was a very hard thing to accomplish, right? I thought that it was very, very, very hard to find somebody more delusional than Cenk, okay? Because Cenk is wrong a lot, okay? But when you prove Cenk right, then that makes you look really, really, really bad, okay? Because Cenk is right here, right? He is right. He's saying that, hey, man, you're wrong and you can't blame disinformation in the voters for why you were wrong, okay? You can't do that because ultimately at the end of the day, if you didn't account for so-called misinformation, disinformation, racism, like if your keys were so foolproof, then you should have accounted for these things, right? Those things should be a part of your keys, right? Clearly, your keys are not foolproof because of these outside factors that weren't accounted for. But here's the thing. I will go even further and say that not only are his keys flawed, but his analysis of his own keys were flawed because he basically gave Kamala Harris a advantage against Trump when it came to things like, for example, the short-term and long-term economy. When it's like, well, the liberal media and the woke economists may say that the economy is great, right? That everything is all good, but that's not how the American people felt. And there were plenty data points to prove that the American people did not feel like the economy was good, right? So when you put that as an advantage for Kamala Harris in her favor, although the voters are saying, no, we don't feel like the economy is good, again, that shows that your analysis is flawed because you're not accounting for how the voters feel about the economy. It doesn't matter what the liberal media says about the economy. It doesn't matter what the woke economists, the liberal economists say about the economy. What matters is how the voters feel. And if this guy was actually objective, then he would have actually given Trump the advantage when it comes to the economy, and that may have flipped his prediction, right? He may have made the right prediction had he actually analyzed his own keys correctly. So again, it's not just that his keys are flawed, right? But also is that his analysis was flawed. But again, he can't admit that. He can't admit that because he has a God complex.
Blasphemy against you? Who the hell are you? Are you Jesus Christ, you loser? Okay, can I just give the correct answer for once? Okay, here we go. So guys, you're blaming disinformation. There was disinformation. There was the cats and the dogs nonsense. The points you're making about undocumented immigrants, I agree with, Alan, okay? But that didn't cost the election. The main disinformation was about how the election was going to be rigged. And it wasn't rigged. It was dumb. They won easily. There was no need for that disinformation. You guys are missing the whole point. The people who are at fault are not other people. It is the candidate, Kamala Harris, the previous candidate, Joe Biden, Democratic Party, Democratic leadership. You guys don't want to admit that they're the problem. They're the cancer in the Democratic Party. So you blindly lash out at the voters, at information, at social media, and you want to shut down anyone who disagrees with you. That's not the correct answer. There are three wings of the Democratic Party. There's the establishment wing that the great majority, almost everyone on television supports and kisses the ass of and does propaganda for. That wing has led to disaster. They lost to Donald Trump twice, nearly lost to him 3 times. And then the other wing is called the progressive wing, but those are two different sets of people. In the progressive, so-called progressive wing, what you have is the identitarian left, the people who do what the right wing would call woke politics and identity politics, and that is disastrous. That's what the trans ad was at the end, and it cost us. The most popular part of the Democratic Party is the populist left. That is the Bernie Sanders 2016 campaign. That part says, let's do super popular economic proposals like paid family leave, higher minimum wage, universal health care, public option. Let's do all of these things. And the establishment goes, no, our corporations don't want that. Our donors don't want that. So we'll just do identity politics. And maybe identity politics will unite the left. But it didn't. Identity politics led to disaster. It was a poison within the Democratic Party, used ironically by the establishment Democrats because they didn't want to talk about popular proposals that we have because their donors hate those proposals.
Okay, let me bring in Harry.
Yeah, so Cenk is right, but again, for the wrong reason, okay, as per the usual, okay, in the sense that, yes, you can't blame the voters. Okay, you can't blame so-called misinformation, disinformation, especially consider how a vast majority of the misinformation, disinformation comes from the liberal media. Okay, it's not what Cenk was talking about with people saying that the election was rigged or whatever, that would be stolen. No. It's actually the liberal media telling people that the economy is great and that the border is closed. Okay, that crime is down. Right, that's where a vast majority of the misinformation / disinformation came from. Right, but also on top of that, Cenk is wrong about how the so-called Bernie Sanders populist left is somehow different from the identitarian left, right? The people that do identity politics on the left, right? The far leftists. I would actually argue that, no, you guys are in the same bucket, right? Don't try to distance yourself. Let's keep it all the way 100. These people want to spend more money, right? The only solution they have is to spend money on a bunch of things, government programs that we cannot afford, right? For whatever reason, these people believe, no. Democrats, they were just too far right. Okay, they were too far right. They should be more far left. Okay, when it comes to economic proposals, that's how they actually win, right? And Kamala lost because she was too far right. No, Kamala lost because she tried to be a moderate, but everybody could see that she's not, that she's actually a far leftist, okay? She's a far leftist disguised as a moderate, and she did not do a great job at differentiating herself today from who she was just 4 or 5 years ago. And voters did not believe her. They did not believe this moderate turn that Kamala Harris took, right? And again, that's something I'm seeing quite a bit from the far left. A lot of these people are basically saying, well, Kamala Harris didn't run an identity politics campaign. Therefore, the reason why she lost is not because of identity politics. It's because she was too far right. She was trying to be too moderate. And it's like, no. You don't understand. Kamala Harris, her whole career has been based off identity politics. Just because Kamala Harris decides for 3 months, all of a sudden, right, she's this not woke moderate, that doesn't mean that she has gotten rid of the stain of wokeism, right? She hasn't done that. She also hasn't got rid of the stain of all the other far left economic proposals that she has supported in the past, like, for example, abolishing all private health insurance in this country, and also calling for gun confiscation. These type of things Kamala Harris has on her resume of things that she supported in the past, and she did a terrible job at explaining why is it that she's different today than she was before, right? So again, a lot of these people, all of them, they're just not really understanding exactly why Democrats lost, right? And they're coming to the wrong conclusion, especially these people on the left. They refuse to believe that the leftist policies, whether that be economic or social, that they advocate for are just not good for the country. What caused inflation is far left economic policies that were adopted by the Biden administration. The Biden administration is the most progressive administration in American history economically and socially as well too. Both of those things are the reason why Democrats lost, okay? And Kamala Harris was not a good candidate to try to fool people into thinking that, hey, she's different, okay? Because everybody could see through her fakeness that, no, she's not any different, right? She's just more the same, and she's just trying to win the election. And this is why she didn't really want to answer any questions about what she believed in the past, and she didn't really want to explain why her opinions are different today. You just have to believe that they're different, right? They're different today. You just have to accept that. And American people didn't do it. So I find conversations like this to be absolutely hilarious, okay? Because both of these individuals were wrong overall with their election predictions. But again, I will give Cenk a little bit of credit and say he is right about Lichtman, okay? That the dude is delusional. He has a God complex, and he just won't accept the fact that he is a followable person, right? He's a followable human being, just like the rest of us. And he should probably find a new grift, okay? Because this grift of being Nostradamus of election predictions is over, right? It's over. This guy has no credibility whatsoever. And the more that he doubles and triples down on this idea that no, my keys are infallible and that, you know, hey, it's the voters' fault. It's not my fault that, you know, I'm not biased. And the more he does that, the more credibility that he loses. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.